Hello and welcome to Work Like a Girl, where we feature interesting women doing interesting work. My name is Angela Champ, and today I have with me Susan Ura, who is an industrial engineer. She has a Master's of Economics and Administration and a Master's in Energy and Natural Resources, as well as having a PMP designation. Welcome, Susan.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So you studied as an industrial engineer. Can you tell us, for those of us that don't know, what exactly is an industrial engineer?
Oh, industrial engineer is, I would call it like a hybrid. Here in Canada, I would say is half Bachelor in Commerce, half engineer.
Okay.
So you get a lot of your science courses and your engineering courses, but as well you get economics, accounting, marketing, human resources courses. So a well-rounded profession that will allow you to do technical work as well as do management.
And so what kinds of projects would you work on as an industrial engineer?
Depend on the industry where you work, right? So at the beginning of my career, I work in manufacturing. So I work on programs for maintenance and for production. So how to plan it, how to schedule it, how to control it. So I will work with the other type of engineers and organize their work.
Okay, so it sounds like engineering has so many disciplines that can appeal to a lot of different people. It's not just one type of engineering.
Oh, absolutely. So, for example, in the oil and gas, that is now what I have done in my time in Canada, I start going to risk management, project controls. So it's kind of supporting the projects, but not really kind of doing the design of the project or the kind of the technical work.
Right. So it's a little bit of something for everybody. So you have, I worked for an engineering firm for a while, and we often looked for people who had an engineering degree as well as an MBA as well as a project management designation, which you have. So we like to call it the trifecta of the schooling. Can you tell me how having those three together have helped you in your career, or has it helped you at all?
Oh, no, absolutely. I guess things, I started as an engineer, and I never thought that, that was kind of getting into wanting to know business, but as I start increasing my job experience, my work experience, I realized that the engineering wasn't showing me the full picture of, how we create value, how we do get our sales and our revenue, and kind of the marketplace. So the business side kind of complements very well with the engineering side. So now you know how to push or how to create a product order, and then how to sell it, and how the dynamics in the market. Now the PMP came more like a consequence of working in projects. Okay. So I already had been managing or doing some kind of a projects management roles, and I was asked to kind of, why don't you go for your certification? So I just went and took the test, and actually very interesting that I did take a boot camp just to understand what the test was about, but the test really was based on my experience. Like the questions I had to go and answer thinking what I have seen in the workplace, how would what actions I will do in the case of, the questions, the cases that were facing me in the exam. So as a project management professional, what you're proving is that you have a set of tools that allows you to work from the small projects to the big scale projects. That allows you to manage from the scope, the cost, the schedule, the full picture of all the, variables that affects the projects to be successful.
So Susan, how did you get into this field?
Oh, so into
Yes.
engineering. I will always say when the people ask me, so I was good in math.
Okay.
And when you're good in math, at least in my country, everybody associated with engineering. So very interesting compared with what I learned when I came to Canada. In my country, being a woman, if you're good in math, the people will encourage you actually to go into engineering, because it's seen as a respected profession, well paid, at the same level that doctors and lawyers.
Okay.
So I never felt that that was an issue for me going into engineering as a woman. I got into it, and then I realized that we were like a tiny portion of the student population, and then I went to the marketplace and I realized there's more
Wow.
group, right? So so I just went because I was good at math and I like the career. I thought that was a good fit for me.
So this series is called Work Like a Girl, and it's intended to showcase and inspire young girls about the many, many careers that they can go into, including ones that we typically think of as male-dominated, which in this case is engineering. It was interesting you said that in your country, if you were good in math, you were encouraged to go into engineering. Why do you think overall, or here in Canada, we don't have more women in engineering, and how can we encourage it?
Well, I think that Canada being a young country, like a few generations of people being educated into a profession, the baby boomers, women were only doing nursing and
Yes,
teachers, right?
that's right.
Because they wanted flexibility, to raise the kids. There was no daycares or nanny available. So still there is that impression, I guess, that it's an unknown field. Like the women's are not, there's not a lot of women yet to kind of show the path. That's one factor. Second, I have seen it from experience, because even though I encourage my daughter and I kind of, engineering, you should go there, she will say, Mom, no, that's, you're just on the computer, you're just working on kind of boring stuff. So it's not seen and it's not promoted as a social place where speaking skills and collaborative approach is required. You don't get anything done as an engineer alone.
That's true.
You always work in a team, and you're part of usually of a big organization. So so it's no different like being a nurse or a doctor in an hospital, where also you don't cure the patient by yourself. You work in a team.
Right, that's true.
So I think that part is a prototype. How would you say? A social bias that we're having against engineers.
So it's almost like we have a marketing or a public relations problem with engineering as a discipline. If it doesn't look like a fun or interesting career for girls or even for boys, maybe we need to promote what it really is and how engineers actually build the world.
Yes, and I think there has been a lot of efforts by the Association of Engineers on the different provinces and their targets. So they want to have more women in engineers. We need to work from the grassroots, from the schools. We need to work with our kids as parents and as all. So then they get the different message through all consistent different message. And I think it's not there. It's kind of they get it. They get some promotion, but what they are really seeing is still on at home or on the reality of the workplace is this stereotype.
That's true. Stereotype is a good word. That's right. So you've had lots of schooling experience. You've had work experience. You have life experience. What do you know now that you would like to give advice to 15-year-old Susan, 15-year-old you?
Yeah. So one of the things that I was reflecting on on the questions is, okay, so I know that in the teenager brain is kind of embedded that idea that you're so self-conscious and be accepted on a group setting. So if I could, how much energy and time would girls, teenagers spend on their look, their complaining or worry about their body image, the clothes, not really focusing on, and building that self-efficacy and that mental toughness. I think that is really required for being an engineer. In engineering, being still a very male-dominated, for women going into the field, you really need to believe in yourself and have that assertiveness and confidence that you can excel in that field, independent of maybe all the odds are kind of in some way against you, right? Because you're kind of a minority.
That's interesting advice. But you're right about, and you talked about self-efficacy and toughness. I think that's very important. So my favorite question to ask people is, do you have any favorite books that you like to gift or recommend to people?
Yes, so this is general for anybody. Two books that lately I have read and left an impression on me. One is On Tyranny, 20 Lessons from the 20th Century. So it's a pocket book where very quickly talk about 20 points that has happened in the past during the 20th century, and that we are, at risk that happen again. So learning from the past and how we should do as members of society to prevent.
That's an excellent recommendation. I've read that one. It's by Timothy Snyder, and I personally believe it should be required reading for every citizen of the world. It is that important of a book, and it's a very small
Yeah.
book, like you said. It only takes maybe an hour or two to read it. I think everybody should read it. That's a
Yeah.
great recommendation. Do you have another one?
Yeah, the other one is called The Shoe Dog. It's by the founder of Nike.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's a very well written book by him, I imagine, with editors and everything, but about his journey, how he, being just a young fellow, had this idea and started working. And the impression at the end, I really got it when he wrote the last words, and he was saying, "I was broken more than most of my life." So it tells you how tough it is to be an entrepreneur.
Wow.
Gives you a real, I think it's a realistic look at entrepreneurship these days, and
Yes.
think, you have to be creative and go that way. It's a really tough path for life, and affects your family, and like so. I think that I recommend it for anybody that wants to go into entrepreneurship.
That's a great recommendation. We had a Work Like a Girl interview with somebody who advises entrepreneurs, so that's an excellent addition to that video as well. So thank you. It's been really fun talking to
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Okay.
This has been Work Like a Girl, and we'll see you next time.